I'm just really concerned. I think at some point we're just going to have to remove those liens from those individuals' houses, because I think, this is sitting so not right with me. And I think it's created something that should not have been created. I think we should remove those liens from those individuals' property.
I agree with Ray.
I will say that, first of all, it's the recordations that have occurred in the past. There are notices of violation. There's no liens that are recorded against the properties. It's just a notice on the deed that there's an open violation with the county. I will say is that as late as yesterday, we had an internal meeting, including with the Chief of Staff of the board, as well as Chief of Staff and Executive's Office to review the matter. And we are proceeding with that. We're reviewing we're going to review the order permits again to identify where there has been a transition in ownership, as well as perhaps going down to detail of on the order permits what the types of permits were, to see if there's any easy resolution to those. So there is a discussion as to how to further, I guess, address the order open permits. We all are also looking at alternatives for addressing going forward. Permits that identify that people fail to file and close. But we do have a procedure and process currently in place right now with, now we're almost current up to speed with, or up to date on the open permits, where, for example, right now, because of technology, what we do is we actually make a phone call to the individuals a month before the permit expires to, I guess, to address the situation with them, to engage them. And so the 2016 permits, for example, that moved into 17 would be followed up on. There's only a handful that we're not able to close with the individual get to the finals or get them to inspection. So those numbers have been drastically reduced. So we're also looking at alternatives going forward with that as to if we continue to order it's not 22 to that. But again, we are meeting with Chief of Staff of both offices to try and set a resolution.
Jim, do you have a comment?
Yes, I do. Thanks, Tom. Yeah. These notices of violation that go on the deed, quite frankly, I think we should remove them all. And let's go through a process, make a determination of how we're going to resolve these issues of people complying. I do think there's another issue. There's a whole different issue when people, when the houses change hands, maybe once, twice, maybe even 3 times, looking at how old some of these permits are. I think it should be of last resort. Not, it appears that you put these notices of violation on these deeds pretty quickly as a means of trying to get people to comply. It's a little heavy-handed, in my opinion. Whether you have the authority to do it or not, I certainly think that this is something that should have been brought to this committee about the issue and about putting these notices of violations on deeds. I would even go as far as just talk to the state's attorneys here. Maybe that's not for us to do. Maybe it is for the state's attorney's office to do when people can't comply. Maybe there's some other action. Maybe the letter should come to the state's attorney's office, not the land use department. But it seems to me that putting a notice of violation on a deed should be something of last resort, not a form of a way of trying to get somebody to comply, because that's the easiest way for us, or not us, or the land use department, or the state's attorney's office, or wherever. So, I'm fairly confident that 99% of people will apply. I don't think these can handle, be heavy-handed. And in many cases, they might not even know that they have this notice of violation They find out when they go to sell their house. So, or for some reason they look it up. So, I think we should move on. And if we get a situation where we absolutely have somebody who's not going to be compliant, then we put it on. But let's run the string of trying to get people to comply first. And it seems to me that's not the process we use. Well enough that some consider a little heavy-handed, a little maybe threatening, and then they get these notice of violation on their deeds. Here again, he's a little heavy-handed to me. So I think we should take them all off.
And now let me ask, I'll ask the state's attorney's office, can the ones that have been put on by the land use department, can we pass something
At the board level, removing them, and then if the state's attorney's office wants you guys to put them on, we'll leave that up to you.
You could pass a resolution and have them removed, but if you want to do that, you could pass a resolution and just say they're all forgiven. You don't want to have mechanisms to enforce our ordinances, you don't have to. That is a policy decision to make. But I want to point out something, that the ones that got these notices were notified first that it could happen. They've already been notified and don't find out when they just try to sell, because the date they got recorded, the recorder of deeds sent them all a notice.
Okay.
And this is the 5% that didn't do it. We got approximately 398 left, and it was, I think, over 4,000. Well, I guess it's 10%, but it was over 4,000 when we started, and everybody else came into compliance. So,
By the way, I find that an amazing number, 4,000.
well, all right, what was the actual number, guys?
It's around 35.
All right, I
No, I
35.
mean, an extraordinary number, there's that many records out there.
There were.
That's our failure.
It is, and that's why we're addressing going forward, that this will never happen again. The issue isn't not preventing it in the future, that's already being, in the process. What we're trying to do is figure out what to do with the almost 400 we have out there, and we're working on it. We have the treasurer's office researching to differentiate between who was the original property owner that still owns the property versus if there was a sale or not. We've envisioned and discussed we would handle in several manners. It's already been informed to these people that, well, the policy is they get another inspection at no cost. We're not trying to economically hurt them. We just want to make sure that our housing stock is up to snuff and that nobody is hurt by it. We have some issues involving swimming pools, which if it had electricity and they weren't wired right, somebody could die. Or if there's not a fence around it, a child could fall in and drown. We have issues that involve possibly water heaters and or furnaces where carbon monoxide could build up if they weren't vented properly. These are actual life and safety issues. And we are trying to determine that. So we are trying to make the problem go away. We don't imagine these notices of violation will stay on their books long, because whoever does it come into compliance. My recommendation is going to be the state's attorney's office is going to take them to court to force compliance, because we got to get them in compliance to maintain our housing stock and to keep our safety of our marginalized citizens there. And so it is getting taken care of.
Yeah, Phil, I don't disagree with what you're saying, except when you want to take it to the extreme, like we don't have to have any enforcement. I mean, that's not the intent here. The intent is to treat people in a fair manner, and I agree. All these outstanding permits that did not receive final inspection need to be taken care of. Of course, I think we can prioritize those, depending on what it is.
And we're in the process of taking the more serious ones first, yeah.
Those certainly should be pursued. And I'm not so sure some of this should have been pursued out of the state's attorney's office from the beginning. So it's not about us trying to, and by the way, I do believe that for some, if it was the state's attorney's office, maybe they would have viewed it or taken it more seriously, or said, I have to get this done. But that's, so I have no problem with the state's attorney's office intervening to bring the process forward and get the inspections done. But in the meantime, I still think we have to be sensitive to, in some cases, I'm not sensitive to every one of these cases. You know, I mean, if it involves electricity or plumbing or life safety issues, I agree with you. We need, those need to be taken care of. You know, but those that are not, you know, we're kind of leaning on people that are unaware of it, or, you know, or it requires people going into their homes, then maybe we need to be a little more flexible because they're working. So maybe we'll say, we'll come to your house on Saturday or Sunday and do it. You know, and you know, we don't know as to why there's issues of them not complying. It may just be that, I don't know, but I mean, I think there's more we can do. After all, I think it's their responsibility to call for final inspections. A lot of homeowners may not be aware of it, right? I've had work done by contractors, I just assume they're taking care of it, right? So, and when I was did more commercial stuff, I made sure it was inspected myself. Contractors were getting it inspected. But I guess all I'm saying is that we dropped the ball too. You know, so, and obviously, you know, I understand we're correcting this going forward. I'm thinking I'm taking too long on that. So
Okay, Ray, would you like to make a comment?
I know this was discussed at a previous committee executive, and I gave you all some numbers then, and, you know, to me, this is about facts and exact numbers, not about that these are many property owners, that new property owners, that, where there's a transfer. I want exact numbers, and I don't want false information or guesstimates going before you, and that is what I will tell you our staff, our state's attorney, our land use staff, Nick and I have been working on this for you. It's become daily, I promise, and I know some of you I have individually talked to. Even yesterday, we met for about an hour, I think, and like what Bill was saying, he was in the meeting, Mary Teacher was too, was even out of some of those notices, you guys have to understand that 42 of them are open code enforcement that could be safety issues. You know, there's 2 resource and recovery issues dealing with the IPEA. There's 1 site development issue. These are issues that we can't just waive, and I would caution you against something like that. But we keep digging deeper and deeper for you. As Phil stated, Brian Radner has already given that 398 notice number to the treasurer's office. And we talked about that yesterday. Just this morning, I saw Brian McDaniel, and I followed up with him, and I asked him, please, can I get that number by the end of this week for you? And what that number is this guesstimate, this many property transfer number. I want the exact number, and hopefully I'll have that this week, whether it was the current owner that took that permit out, or whether there was a transfer of ownership. And I think that's a crucial number that you all are looking for. So I want you guys to know that we are working diligently on this, and if you have any questions, if you want to come to some of these meetings, Tom Weigel and Herb Brooks did attend the meeting yesterday. So rather than just staff, I had some county board members there.
Thank you.
Question for you on that. Didn't we just close anything prior to 2011?
So, if you recall, Mike did an update on this exact process in September of last year. And at that point, it had previously been determined that, and this is something they had developed with the state's attorney's office, that they were going to focus on the years from 2011 through 2015. At that point, our 16 permits were still open because you could have a permit, have it extended, so those weren't included. Anything before that, it's still open, and we may have recorded a notice at some time in the past, But those permits were just gonna remain open, and they were going to deal with them as people came in to the office to get a new building permit. We wouldn't issue a new building permit until they closed the old one. That's how they were gonna deal with it. That's what they determined at the time, that they thought it was fair to look at the 11s through the 15s and see if we could work with them to close out their permits through the process that involved the notices on the property if they did not respond.
So just for clarification, just so I understand, on 2011 to 2015, any open building permit that wasn't satisfied, we put the notice on their property.
After contacting them and giving them an opportunity to contact the department to close the permit,
Right,
close the permit at no cost,
right.
no inspection costs, absolutely no fines. We're not looking for fines in any of these situations. Then, notice is recorded, I don't want to say exactly, but about a month later, if we didn't get a response. Then, the recorder generated a notice saying that this notice of violation has been recorded. You need to contact the department to have it removed. So that was the second notice.
I understand that. So that's 2011 to 15.
Yes.
Anything prior to that, even though, we've heard about the life safety issues and we have to be concerned about X, Y, and Z, and we should go further. We're not worried about those people.
They were, at that point, they had made the decision that they were not going to record a notice. What they were going to do was wait until they came into the office to apply for another permit for something and deal with the problem at that point. That was the decision.
So why didn't we do that for 11 through 15?
I didn't make that
So
decision.
if it was okay to not worry about it until they came to
I
us?
think with the only thing that I do recall is that there was a better chance that they may still be working with the same property owner, or it's fresher in their mind that maybe this had happened. So that was a thought at the time that they had reached the conclusion that that's how they were going to approach it after discussing it with the state's attorney's office on how to handle the matter. So those people aren't necessarily, they're not in a position of, when I say that group of people from 2010 and all the way before, they still have an open permit and it still needs to be resolved. It was just that they had made the decision that they weren't going to record any notice on the property.
So they may not know they have an open permit.
They may not.
So they may not know.
But just so you know, the process of recording violation notices, just notice, not a lien, a notice on a property started in 2010. And before that, the county did not do that. They took everybody to court. That was how they used to do it. So from 2010 through 2016, there are some notices during that period that have been recorded that go back, it's almost maybe 15 years. I think I saw a 2002 permit in there, so there are 16.
I just want to say a few comments based on what's already been said and what Reagan mentioned. One, the process has been improved to avoid this from happening again. We are using a better technology, so that, I'm just going to leave it at that. It's been improved, that's number one. Number two, and I don't know if all the committee members or the board members have seen the letter that went out, but if it hasn't, I would encourage all of you to take a look at that letter, because I've heard many times that it's a threatening letter, and I've had the chance to review it, and you may have a different opinion, but it is not a threatening letter. It is telling them what the situation is, and it uses please and thank you, and it's not threatening in any way. The other issue that we want to send another letter to let these outstanding people know, that remind them, because this was said previously, they can get this inspection and close it out if the work's been done for free. There's no added cost. The only cost would be if they took out a permit, didn't do the work, or didn't do it correctly, then there would be a cost, but that's their responsibility. So there's no added county cost to get the final inspection and clean the record off. The other thing is, there's not, to our knowledge, been any sales of homes. Now, there may be out there, we just don't know about, but there's none that have failed because of this. There was one we're aware of that someone said, oh, this is on there, and in order to get the sale done, they removed it with the understanding that they were going to put it back on because they weren't going to solve the issue because they were a new owner. But I would think, as someone who's bought a few homes, that you would like to know if there is a potential safety issue in your home, if you're going to put your family in there. So I think it's a right to know for the new owners, because that is a real concern. That's where we're trying to get to the bottom of how many of these are the current owner was the person who took the permit and did or didn't do the work, versus how many were transferred, because then they're a victim of not knowing if we don't tell them. And then the last issue, I guess, is there are harsher options, I guess, which we have not asked to do, or we could send these all to administrative adjudication, but then they're going to have to stand before an administrative adjudication judge and pay fines and be taken to task in a way, I mean, for that. Or we could go, as the state's attorney suggests, we could put them all in court. We don't want to do that either. We're trying, I think over the years, a lot of these have been somewhat leniency to try to get people in compliance. That's the whole idea of administrative adjudication, is to get compliance, not to beat people up. But they take out a permit to do work, we should finish up. And if we do anything short of that, if we just wave it on and say we're going to forget about these, as some, not maybe board members, but others have suggested, what message does that send to the public? Get a permit, don't fulfill it, we're not going to hold you accountable. I think that's the wrong message to send, because communities that have good building codes and enforcement, I think, are stronger because people have confidence in the housing stock and the rules and regulations. So we're working on this, and we'll have more information at a later date. So I just thank you.
So a couple different things here. Number one, my main issue still is that this problem came up. The only reason I knew that this problem existed was because I got a letter. Shortly thereafter that, several months later, one of my constituents also received a letter. So if you want to say it's not threatening, you may say that, but when you receive the letter, it's threatening. If I don't respond within 21 days, then this notice is going to be filed on my deed or whatever. So here's the thing, though. The letter from the constituent was dated January 26th, but it wasn't even stamped till January 29th. So the dates were 3 days short, number one. Okay, so that's in there. I think it's, if somebody didn't even remember, these people don't even remember. We have people out there from 2002, Brian said. 2002, they probably don't even know that these permits were never closed. In my case, I had windows installed by a company, they got the permit, we assumed that they handled it all. How do I know? They're gone doing this stuff, I'm not even home, I'm at work. Assuming that it got done. So if you don't even know that you have that situation, then it's a surprise to you that you didn't get it. My constituent had a letter, because he had gotten a community concerns grant. The letter said at the bottom, this is your final inspection. So this person assumed that his was done, although then he gets a letter saying it wasn't. The letter to them is not specific as to, it just says building permit number such and such for a vague kind of description. It's not even, you don't even always know what it is that it's referring to. The new letter, you say you're sending out a new letter?
We have,
No.
because we're waiting
Okay,
for this
yeah,
process
okay.
to play itself out.
No, now you said there's no cost to clean off the record, so if somebody calls, they want to do this, if you send out another letter, whatever the process is determined, and if there's no cost to the landowner for that, there was no cost to our department to record it? No cost either way?
So with the recording and the release, there's zero cost to the county to actually do that. The recorder's office is not charging the land use department for that. And we work with everybody as quickly as possible. As soon as somebody calls for the inspection, they're probably going to have it the next day or within the next couple of days, if that's convenient for them. And as soon as they pass it, come back in the office, we release it immediately. We go right over to the recorder's office and process the release.
Okay, that's good. And then you mentioned that there are harsher steps to take. So here's my whole thing. I heard a million things about this, and the process is always the landowner is responsible for calling for the final inspection. I'm sorry, they're a customer. It is our responsibility to do it. Then I've been told it was a paper system. You know what? Baloney. Baloney, I don't care. I'm not going to stand for any excuse as to why land use didn't, and I'm not saying you guys, because most of you weren't here from 2002 when all this craziness probably began. But it really is bad to say it was all on the landowner. No, it was on the land use department, that is their job. Their job, somebody, I don't know who, I've never been told the name of the individual or individuals that didn't do their job. That person was, they issued it, somebody issues the permit, somebody's assigned the permit, somebody must be assigned to close out the permit. Somebody must be assigned to certain groups of things. It's just not permits flying all over the place. So somebody in that land use department didn't do their job, and they should have done their job, and it shouldn't be open from something as far back as 2002, and to start with 3,500 permits that are open and not been closed is rather insane. And I think we need to, I'm guessing the decision was made for those that were older that they didn't close it out because it was a cost, that the print the letter, put it in an envelope, send it to everybody. There were about 2,000 of those. There's a cost that's there. Maybe that was the decision. I think that those people shouldn't be caught off guard that there was this permit still open. So I don't buy the arguments or anything like that. And what I do want to know is, well, we have a new online system before we had a paper system. Okay, I wrote code. I design systems. A system is only going to do so much. There's still a human intervention. So I want to know the process is in place when somebody is issued a permit, gets a new permit. I know we're not closing out many right now because you have a year or whatever. So when that person takes their permit out, what is the plan to do it? What does the current system do? Does the current system send somebody an email in the department? Does the current system create a report? Does the current system generate a letter to the landowner saying that it's going to expire or it has expired? Those kind of steps I'd like to see what our process is. So I know, but I'm asking that. I want to know what it is.
David? I'll let Brian speak to the permit process. Alderman Rogal, I know you indicated that Brian isn't necessarily involved in prior decisions, but I can assure you that the staff that we have right now is doing their job with regarding the permit process. And as Brian will explain, some of the processes that are implemented under Mike Spentan, how effective they've been, and where we're going with the current permit process. Also, too, I just want to emphasize, too, is that, we, with both chiefs of staff as the department, we recognize there's a concern that the board has presented to us. And what we're designing is a solution to the issue that's been presented to us. And, is contrary to what may have been presented before, is that, again, we're not telling you what to do, or the board or the executive's office. We can give you our professional recommendation. But we'll be looking to you for the directions to ultimately, how do we want to do this? And that's the process we're working through. We've been working with Reagan. We met the sites yesterday. So we are focused on a solution to this and trying to address the concerns brought forward. And with that, I'll let Brian explain the process with the permit.
Brian? All right, thank you, members of the committee. So there's a couple things we're doing to make sure that we don't get in this position again. There is one person who, as one of their tasks, who gets a daily report, because the system that we use now produces a report to say what permits are expiring when, so they get a daily report. And basically it's about 1 month out from when the permit's going to expire. They get a list of the properties every day that are permits that are closing in on expiring. We contact the person multiple ways, either by phone or email or letter, whatever. Whatever contact method we have, we contact the person and we check in. We say their permit's about ready to expire. Do you want to extend it? Why have you not acted on it? So try to ascertain the situation and make a decision on what needs to be done. In most of the cases, that's going to take care of everything right there. Because the permit's still fresh in their mind, maybe they're choosing they're not going to go forward with the work, we'll just close it. Maybe they do want to go forward, we'll extend it. So we can do all those things. So that's one way of looking at it. Another thing that we do is that last year we processed over 3,300 building permits, and I don't want to say half, but close to half of those permits are permits that we call same-day permits, which we can issue when somebody comes in. It's like the roofing permit. So there's only one inspection on a roofing inspection, and that's the final inspection. So what do? When they come in, we tell the contractor that we, or the homeowner, we are scheduling that roof inspection today. The day we issue your permit, we're scheduling the inspection, and it's gonna happen 6 months out. If you complete it before then, contact the department, and we'll come out earlier and do the inspection. So we're already setting up the inspection to do the work, and that takes care of another set of permits that could have gone expired if nobody called. Then, another thing that we do is our inspectors use the software service that we have on their iPads, and they can pull up a map of all of the open permits in the area. So if they're in an area doing an inspection on something else, they can open up the map and they can see what permits are open, look at them, see what those permits are, and then go to those houses, and if there's something that they can do to close those out immediately, then that's something that they do. So those are 3 things that we're doing right now to make sure that we don't get in this situation right now. And as far as I can tell, it's been very helpful. For 2016, the county has only recorded 18 notices. So the process is working. 2016, I think we had 2,700 permits. So 18 of 2,700 were people that didn't want to follow through with closing it. So we started using SmartGov in June of 2016, and if you look at it maybe 6 months to a year out, we have to go back and you look at those people that didn't follow through. So it's only been a small number. So I think it's effective now.
Okay, so with Reagan working with you, it would be very good to know the notifications that were filed, what was the work that was done on them. Because, there's differences of opinion as to whether, something's a life safety or not a life safety. If the furnace was bad, they're dead. They're dead already. They're no longer living if the furnace was bad or something like that happened. So, the point is like, I want to see the process going forward. I know you guys have a new one. I would like to see the letter that you are sending out when a person's, before their permit expires, if you're sending a letter, if you're making a call, just so we can see what it is. I don't think it should be threatening to say if you don't respond within a certain amount of time, the first contact with the landowner should not be threatening to say you're going to record anything on anything. That's threatening. Maybe Nick doesn't think so. He's a government employee. I haven't worked for the government as long as he has. So when I'm a landowner in my own home and I get a letter like that, I feel that it's threatening. So I would like us to be able to see that, and I just think that we should continue with Reagan giving us the information that you guys are looking for. But I still say the landowner is not the final person responsible, land use department is, and it's unfair that these notices got filed on theirs deeds when they may not even be the landowner anymore. So I'll keep that update on that.
I agree with you, and I do have a different slant that really needs to be addressed. In 2003, when we were talking about porch collapses in Chicago, some people had permits, some people didn't. But the courts ruled that the city wasn't liable for any of this stuff. Well, the city of Chicago, ones that were inspected, when they did an advanced inspection, they found out that the city of Chicago didn't find structural things that were real bad. But the courts still ruled, even though the inspectors didn't find anything wrong at first, when they did the advanced inspection, they did find stuff wrong, that the city still wasn't liable. So what I'm getting at is that just because we have a building inspector come out and look at this stuff, doesn't mean that the job was done right. So we have to, we're talking about life safety and all this stuff all the time. Everything is life safety. Yet, we don't have fences along, the pools. With a 2-foot pool, you have to have a fence if it's 2 feet deep, but we don't require a fence for people that own land on a river that covers the whole river, so nobody can walk in the river and drown. There's things that you can point out in the laws that are goofy for everything. But what I'm getting at is just because we say it's all clear, doesn't mean it really is all clear. So we have to be careful when we say it's life safety, because just walking outside is life safety. So, like a furnace Well, really, it's true. A furnace is like safety if it isn't put in right, but a homeowner or a business isn't gonna put in a furnace unless they know how to do it. So they probably call somebody else up that's a furnace person that knows how to do it, puts it in. And so I understand why you're saying, well, we need to inspect it, but at the same time, that doesn't mean it's done right. And I thank you guys for realizing, you're saying that you follow the policies that we set, 'cause that's important. So we don't have to be in an adversarial role all the time, because it's a joint thing that we work together and come up with a good plan. But, you know, and getting this out there listening, I was wondering if you had any thoughts on this.
All right, if I make 30 seconds.
Why don't you come up to the podium?
State your name, Gideon.
In case no one knows who you are.
So thank you for your time. I'm Gideon Edelstein with the Illinois Realtors Association. I just want to clarify a couple of issues. I appreciate the discussion. It's an important issue. The realtors take it seriously because it could, having a notice recorded on somebody's title could cloud the title and cause a transaction to fall apart. And I'm also pleased that there is a solution going forward. So this issue won't come up again. And it sounds like as of this morning, we've identified that it only applies to 398 properties. So good. That's a good thing, right? To figure out a solution for those 398 properties. The one sticking point that I want to put out is, one, we're not opposed as a realtors organization to open permits being closed. We want the permits to be closed. We want to make sure that we're protecting life safety and preserving good housing stock. The issue that you brought up is that basically what the county has decided to do with these 398 is say, okay, we sent you a letter, you didn't respond, we're going to make notice recorded on your title. We've now washed our hands of the situation. So if you really are truly concerned about life safety, I would think that there would be other avenues that can be pursued to try and close those permits, right? And we're not opposed to pursuing other avenues to close those permits. What we are opposed to is the notice being recorded on the title. In particular, when I had Sorling Northrup, which is our external legal counselor, do an analysis of the Will County Code, it actually showed that the code was not followed in terms of how these notices were recorded. So, we do appreciate dealing in facts, and we do want to deal in facts. The fact of the matter is, these notices were recorded on title without following the county code, and so they need to be removed. That's the bottom line. The notices need to be removed, and we need to find an alternate way to get these permits closed. Thank you.
Correctly.
Thank you. State attorney, have you looked at that?
Yeah, we don't agree with this outside counsel's interpretation that the notice wasn't pursuant to the code. We feel we did have the ability to put the notices on. Again, it's only a notice. It is, you can notice anything with the recorder's office. Unless it's something false or puts a lien improperly on the property for a money value that you don't have the right to put on, then it's a criminal offense. And the bottom line is, we didn't just notice 398. We noticed others, and the notice caused the people or triggered the people to come in and get their inspection done, and then we promptly removed it. That was another mechanism to get the people into compliance, short of going to the administrative adjudication or injunctive relief or a fine through the courts. And we can clearly do that. I can, if you want me to, tomorrow I can do 398 withdrawals or releases of those notices and file 398 list pendants, because now we're taking you to court. You're going to have to pay a filing fee to even answer our complaint because it's civil in nature, even though it's for money damages. We're going to ask for injunctive relief. We're going to ask the courts to order inspections of your property against your will. We don't want to do that. We're trying to do it the polite way. We're trying to do it the cooperative way. We are doing it that way. We are working at solving this problem. we're gonna get these 398 taken care of. We may get around 5 or 6 at the end that we do have to take to court because there's no other way to do it. But the way we're progressing is the way that we have to. Again, the land use department doesn't have the ability to waive this stuff. The county board, if you want to wait tomorrow, you could do a resolution to say these are all, we figure somebody would already died by now if it was a problem, and we're just gonna release them all. You could do that. They can't. They have to follow the ordinances that you gave them already. It doesn't give them the discretion to not want to do these things. All they're doing is trying to live up to what you requested them to do. And I think that they are doing that, and they found a problem and they're solving the problem. Not just going forward, but they feel they had to take this class of cases and correct them. And if it's something you don't want them to do, you can do a resolution and say, don't do it. You have the ability to wave a magic wand and say, as a matter of policy, these are all, we want to balance our books. We're not going to make them come into compliance, but going forward, we are. I mean, you can make that policy. The executive's office can't. Land use, as a branch of it, can't. So, I mean, it's really balls in your hand with what you want to do.
Okay, board